Yeah, so again, like Mike said, my name is Joe Stone. For those that don't know me, I was injured in an automobile accident back in April of 2012. I was just driving down the road heading towards my nephew's Little League game. Had my 3-year-old daughter in the back seat in her car seat. My 7-year-old was in the front seat next to me. Both of them were buckled up. However, my 3-year-old yells out to me while driving. She says, "Daddy, Daddy, my seatbelt." And I looked back and I noticed that she had pulled the slack loose and wrapped it around the armrest of the booster seat that she was in. She'd done this a few times before, so I didn't think anything of it and reached back like I did other times to try to fix it while driving. And a few other times I did it, it was successful, didn't have any problems. I was definitely an overconfident driver, like probably most of us are. But this particular time, I couldn't quite get the reach, so I really kind of pushed myself over in my seat to really try to get that reach. Upon doing that, I pulled the steering wheel a little bit too much to the left, I think that whole counterbalancing thing, and I went off the shoulder of the road a little bit. Well, I stopped what I was doing, I pulled the car back onto the road, but when I did, the left wheel hit the shoulder of the road in such a way that it caused my car to start now spinning. So now I'm spinning, hydroplaning down the road at about 60 miles per hour. My youngest daughter still has her seatbelt all wrapped around the booster seat. So as a parent, first thought that I had was I need to fix this seatbelt before something happens. So I noticed that we were heading off the side of the road towards the grass, and it was a downhill down towards this overpass. So I thought, well, we'll just slide down there, but just in case, let me get this seatbelt. So I unbuckled myself. I lunged into the back seat, I unwrapped it, pulled it tight. The moment I pulled it tight, the inertia from us going into the first flip, we hit something and it caused the car to begin to flip. So now the car is just tumbling down the hill, and the people who witnessed it said that at one point in the tumble, the car flipped up where the nose of the car was in the sky, facing the sky, butt of the car facing the ground, and now we're pirouetting in the air. So, pretty dramatic scene, if you can imagine. I mean, we ought to be stunt drivers after this, right? So, but anyway, we ended up landing on the roof of the vehicle. The whole roof was caved in and crushed almost to the bottom of all window levels. There was one window in the back that did have just a few inches of a gap, in which this is how both my daughters escaped out of the car. Prior to them escaping, my 7-year-old, we found ourselves upside down. I was unconscious. She unbelted herself down, started looking for my cell phone to call 911. She couldn't find it, and she helped my youngest daughter out of her seatbelt. They crawled out, and there were people that had stopped on the side of the road, so they were able to take my daughters in. They called 911. Eventually, they show up on the scene. I think they woke me up with sniffing salts because I was unconscious the whole time, and then all of a sudden I'm waking, hearing the sounds of construction work around me. And as I'm opening my eyes, I'm realizing that I'm trapped underneath my car. And I look up, I see my gas pedals above me, just such a bizarre instance. Gas pedals above me, my feet and legs are through the windshield, under the hood of the car. And I'm looking down at my body and I realize that I can't move anything. I can't move shoulders down to my toes. Only thing I was able to move was my lips and my eyes. Very bizarre feeling waking up to something like that. So the guy sitting above me was asking me plenty of questions. Do you know where you're at? What's your name? And I'm trying to answer his questions, but I have this resounding question going on in my mind and in my heart, and that was, where are my kids? Because I didn't hear crying. So the worst feeling came over me when I didn't hear crying. I thought my children had expired in that tumble. So I began to just pray. Prayed to God to make sure my children were okay, make sure I was okay, that we can all just get out of the situation alive. After that, I just focused on my breathing. That was all I did. I just focused on my in-breath and my out-breath, and I counted each one until they were finally able to get me out of the car. I was totally relieved knowing that my children were okay. I thought, whatever this is, I'm sure it'll wear off. Hearing that, I just knew that all they need to do is get me to the hospital, let them work on me, and we'll figure it all out from here. I was just so grateful at that moment that we were all alive. So we go to the hospital, and I find out that I fractured C6 and C7 in my vertebrae, and some of the jagged bone from that fracture severed some of my spinal cord. And if you guys don't know, your spinal cord is basically your electrical wiring that allows the brain to connect to the muscles and the organs and basically the rest of your body to allow it to perform whatever tasks that your brain says that it wants it to do. So basically, all of that communication from my brain to the rest of my body from the chest down was terminated at that. And I didn't see the benefits of what adversity could do for me at that time. I just was like, why did this happen to me? I was just reaching out to God going, why me? Why me? For a moment, I did that. And through those prayers, I got them answered, and I found out why me. Because adversity is what changes a person to become the best version of themselves. And I needed that. And that's something I so desperately wanted in my whole life. I wanted to become a better person and constantly progress my ability to give and receive love to others. And I couldn't do that staying the same person I was.
That's right.
So I needed the challenge. I didn't at the time see what it was for, but soon I began to learn and I began to grow.
That's right.
But through that hospital stay, I went through a lot of emotions that I found that were stuck and trapped inside me, and for the first time in my life, I began releasing them. A lot of them were tied even into childhood trauma, stuff that I never got a chance to process and get up and get out and get over. And it was through the accident that I was able to finally tie in a lot of the emotional damage that had actually been sitting in my soul for such a very long time. So I did a lot of crying laying in that hospital bed. I did a lot of shaking and trembling and just fear of the unknown of what my future was going to be like. But I had some really good friends come to me. I had some good supports to come to me and begin to inspire me and challenge me to change my mindset and basically get on board.
So you're at the hospital, and where are your kids? Where you know?
My stepdad was retired. My mom still worked. So my kids ended up going over there. My stepdad really kind of saved the day and really helped take care of the kids while I was doing my inpatient stay and even when I was released. So, one thing I found in the beginning was, how hard things were, but I began to develop like a tenacity for perseverance. And I knew that no matter how hard it was to just keep trying. So I started setting small goals. Before I had like these big goals, like I'm gonna walk again, and that's a pretty big goal, and it's a goal that I ought to have and should have, but at that present moment in time, that wasn't happening. So what I had to do is set smaller goals. So once I started actually completing these small goals, I realized that I could actually complete goals, and so I started setting more goals. So I wanted to start getting involved in inspiring people and motivating people. I feel that that's what we're all actually here for, that everyone was put on this planet in some way, shape, or form to help somebody else. That's what we're called for. We're here to spread light in a dark world. So what I began to do is I started kind of just sharing my love and light with everyone around me. So I'd go to the hospital and I would just put on like a huge smile for everybody, even though sometimes I was in a lot of pain. Most of the time I was in much pain and hurting, and I could have had a million excuses and a million things to complain about, but I didn't. And one of the most powerful things that I've learned in my life is that words are powerful. Words are extremely powerful. What we say will determine our outcomes, how we speak. So we can speak ill of something, we can speak ill of ourselves, and that will be the only thing we'll ever experience is this ill. we can speak great things about ourselves and great things about others, and those will be the things that we will experience. So whether we say we can or can't, we are always right. So I began doing a lot of outreach, and at the same time doing my own physical therapy, just really trying to bring back life back down into my lower extremities. And I had some amazing accomplishments happen. At first it was just I got a toe wiggle. And I was shocking doctors everywhere because none of them could believe that I could do that, considering how bad that I had severed the cord. So most of them said that when you do start getting return back, it's from the injury level down that you start getting return. Here I was showing return from the bottom going up. So my neurosurgeon was just baffled. So that of course encouraged me and gave me tons of hope to start pushing and trying even more. So I knew that every day was going to be hard, and I knew that I was going to fail, and I knew that I was going to struggle. But I didn't care because I had the end goal in mind, and I still do even to this day. But I began working on my physical therapy. I started doing outreach. Orlando, Florida, I started playing wheelchair rugby down there. And I started learning so much from those guys, and I started seeing a bunch of guys going through the same thing. A lot of adversity, a lot of struggle, but there they were, persevering, showing up for practice every Sunday. Not complaining about their life or their situation, just wanting to better themselves. But getting out and socializing and getting around other like-minded people that are relatable, that don't give those excuses, and hearing their stories started to inspire me and encourage me. So, and with that confidence, I actually met a girl from Connecticut down in Florida, which eventually it developed into a relationship like I've never had in my life. And her and I, eventually we got married just 2 years ago, and I moved up here to Connecticut to be with her. I was a single father, so my kids came with me. I was looking after them. So I brought them with me up here to Connecticut. And so many opportunities have just fallen in my lap since I've been here. And that's another thing too, is, as soon as an opportunity shows itself, we can look at the opportunity and be afraid of failing in that opportunity, and then decide not to even do whatever the opportunity is. So we never find out, how it can change us or how it can grow us if we allow our fear to consume us. So one thing I was learning from those guys down there was not to allow my fear to consume me, to feel the fear, but just go and do it anyway. So I moved here to Connecticut in 2015, and I married my gal in 2017. So some of those really cool opportunities that fell in my lap up here was I was able to join the wheelchair rugby team for Connecticut. So I started playing for that team and learning so much from those guys. My ability to play the game and understand the game really started to expand quite a bit. And within, just after my first year of playing, we started our second season, and we decided we were going to have a captain for the team. So my coach at the time asked the team to vote on the captain. Well, it was a unanimous decision. Everybody voted for me to become a captain of the national wheelchair team, the Connecticut Jammers. So that's been just such a wonderful and honorable opportunity to be able to serve others, because that's one of my goals and my passions in life is to serve others and to help others along their way. And this was now a role and a position given to me to be able to do that. So that's what I do now. I serve the team by being a captain, by motivating them, encouraging them, organizing tournaments, organizing fundraisers, and just staying plugged in with everybody. Individually, I talk to them all the time on a one-on-one basis, just keeping up with the guys. Sometimes I got to do a little peer mentoring if someone's down and out, and just try to encourage them or just be a good listener. Another cool opportunity that fell in my lap was to be able to start and facilitate a support group for other spinal cord survivors. So I I started a group down in Stratford, Connecticut, and it has now expanded to all of Fairfield County. We started out with one member, me. So we've developed quite a team of people that are just really there to help one another out and push each other up to the next level to be our better self. Wanted to give it a shot, so I reached out to the president of Achilles International, Erin Spalding, and she said, you know, we'll take you in, we'll even loan you a bike until you get your own, and you can sign up for this, you know, event, that event, and we'll get you going. So that's what I did. So last year I did my first hand cycle event. So I raced in the Hartford Marathon. I raced in the New York City 4-miler all through Central Park up over all the hills. I believe his name is Joe Tram. He takes care of like all of the bikes and the equipment for these type of events. So I finished. I didn't let that stop me. One of the events that I did, it's called the Gaylord Gauntlet. Some of you watching this probably are very familiar with what that is, some of you local people. So I was actually the first quadriplegic to ever be a part of that event. It's 20 or 21 obstacles, I want to say 21 obstacles, and I did not miss one obstacle. We went through every single one, and of course that brought on a lot of publicity, being the first quadriplegic to ever compete in the event. And through that publicity, there was a newspaper article put out, and a coach from Notre Dame High in Fairfield County saw the article, and he reached out to me through the guy that did the article, and he asked me to meet him up to go have lunch one day and discuss some business ideas.
Really?
So we met up, and he told me all about this program. Here it is here. It's called Future Stars Sports Academy. And what they do is they teach fundamental basic sports to young kids. So anywhere from 5 to 11 years old. These kids come out. You know, I'm just one of many coaches actually. And we try to teach them these fundamentals. But what's really cool is it's a Christian-based program. So we also teach life skills. So we teach them the importance and the value of being kind to one another, and to be team members with, to show them the value and importance of being a good friend and be kind to one another. So it's a very rewarding job. I absolutely love it. Like I cannot speak, you know, more about that. I mean, it just brings such a rewarding feeling knowing that I'm out there making an impact in kids' lives. You know, and I think it's so important for them to see me too in the wheelchair, because now I'm sort of that bridge for them to people with disabilities, that gap. So, you know, a lot of them when they first see me, like a lot of able-bodied people out in public, they don't know what to say. Sometimes they'll look, and then when you look at them, they look away, you know. And so I get a lot of that. And so one of the things I've learned is to be an advocate for myself, and to really just go out to folks that I find that are a little uncomfortable around me or have a little anxiety. I'll roll right up to them and I'll start a conversation with them. And that takes them right off the ledge, and they go, oh, he's just a regular person like you and me. He's just on wheels. And that's actually kind of cool. You know, like, so the kids love it. You know, they're always asking me, you know, why are you in your wheelchair? So sometimes after our practices, I'll pull that group to the side and I'll give them a little backstory of how I got into the wheelchair.
So, you paint?
Yeah, so I paint. It's been a minute since I've done any painting. I've been doing a little bit more drawing and sketching recently, and just trying to tap into my ability to really kind of formulate the compositions, right?
Wow. Yeah.
I was working on just understanding color for a while, and that's where I started the painting. But recently I've been really wanting to work on just my ability to draw. So working on that. Also I started going back to college.
Yeah.
So it's been like 24 years since I was in school. When I first went to college after high school, I really had no idea what I wanted to do. I really had no passion for anything that had anything to do with education. To be honest with you, it just it seemed more like something that it was just too hard and too difficult,
and too far for me to see myself doing anything. So I really had no vision at the time, no passion for any of it. So I quit school, and I was in a career of air conditioning, and I did that for 17 years. I became a technician, and of course after the accident I couldn't go back to that line of work. So, you know, for about 4 or 5 years I just stayed working on my physical therapy, and I really didn't see myself being able to go back to work. And it wasn't until I moved here to Connecticut and I started to really see that I can complete goals and that I can live a normal life just like I did before, just a different way. My attitude started to really change about my career. And so I decided, you know what, I want to get a career again. I want to work again. So that desire turned into me reaching out to the Bureau of Rehab Services. They put me in touch with somebody that was able to sort of test my academic skills, but also my personality. So they really wanted me to find a career that I was going to like and something that I'd be passionate about. So I did this test, and the computer spits out, the first thing on the list was singer. I don't know what the heck that computer was thinking, but
oh my God.
I am not a singer. I'm not any good at singing, except for in the shower.
I'm really good in the shower when no one else is listening.
Wow.
But the second thing on that list was a therapeutic recreation specialist. And that popped out to me because I was like, well, I play wheelchair rugby and that's recreation. Let me find out more about what this type of career involves. So I did some research, and the more I read about it, I was like, whoa, this is like a picture of me now. This is what I do already, but I don't have credentials saying this is what I do. So I've gone back to school now so I can actually get the credentials and also just expand my knowledge on how to actually provide service in a much better way to the people who need it. And I have one thing on my side that most therapeutic recs don't have. I have relatability. So I could go into a room where somebody's downtrodden, they feel like that all the guys in the white coats can't relate to them. You know, who the heck are you? You don't know what I'm going through. And here I come rolling in the room.
That's right.
They can't say that to me.
Yeah.
And they won't. They won't say that to me. Because they can just tell there's this like unspoken bond that we have right away, that they're like, wow, you know adversity, but what's up with this smile on your face? How did you get that? Teach me, show me. And that's where I can be very effective in those type of settings.
Wow.
But yeah, so I'm back in school doing that, and some of the last classes that I've taken over the last couple semesters have been so profound to my core belief systems, and just they're transforming me in such a grand way, and I'm just so proud to be on this path. To learn and find out more about who it is that I was always meant to be. So, you know, the last semester I took a class called Death and Dying, and so we focus on just that. We focus on death, we focus on dying, but we also focus on loss. And that was something that was very profound for me, because most of the time to focus on loss, it puts you in a state of uncomfortability. And one of the things I've discovered is to learn how to be comfortable in uncomfortability. To be able to do that, you're able to now sit with other people who are going through something tough. And instead of like trying to change the subject or trying to change the person, you're able to sit and really listen with them and discover what's really happening on the inside of them. And to allow someone to be able to say that, sometimes that's all they need. They just needed to release it. But you can't release it to somebody that you don't trust. So this is one of the things that I've really learned, is to be able to trust being able to be comfortable sitting in settings where the conversation is mostly about loss.
Wow.
Very powerful. So yeah, class has just been great. I even wrote a children's book, was another one of my cool things that I got a chance to do, and that was through the Death and Dying class. You know, talking about loss. The teacher challenged us to write a children's book about loss, but directed towards a child. So you had to put it in kind of like children's layman terms, so that they could relate to it and find some kind of value in it. So I wrote a really neat book. It's called The Adventures of Joey and Mikey. Yeah, could be this Mikey right here.
Hello.
Or any Mikey across the world, or any Joey. But
Yeah.
basically the premise of the book is that Joey and Mikey, they're a couple of tough young kids, and they're up to just about any challenge there is. They're very daring, and some friends dare them to jump out of a very tall oak tree. And of course they were up to the challenge. They climb to the top and they jump, and Mikey lands it pretty good, but Joey fell in a way where he hurts himself and actually breaks his spine.
Wow.
He's rushed to the hospital and discovers that he actually fractured his spine, and he's now a spinal cord injured patient. Joey starts to feel all the feelings that come up within just about any person on the other side of some big trauma. You have a lot of big question marks in your head. You just don't know what's going to happen. And most of those question marks, you have a big frown on your face because you feel a lot of doubt and you feel a lot of unsurety about yourself. And so Joey's experiencing this now. And Mikey comes along, and he's his best friend, and he does everything he can to encourage him and to cheer him up. And so Mikey finds a wheelchair road race. And so once Joey got released from the hospital, they go out and they do a road race, and they find so much joy and excitement doing it together that it changes Joey's mindset, and thinking that instead of the I can't attitude, he starts to develop an I can attitude. So by the end of the book, Joey's quite pleased with himself that he can perform tasks still while in the chair and go do fun things. And he's so happy that he still has his best friend by his side. It's really cool in this book to see a friend just sticking by his side no matter what. So I'm hoping that this book could really encourage others to really take on the mindset of persevering, and also see the power of inclusion. Basically a person who's disabled with a person who is able-bodied, be able to get along, get together, and go out and into the world and accomplish goals and figure out their way around just all the different trials and tribulations that we all can go through. So
Well, you've been just awesome. You have grown with this ability. You have grown just because if you didn't have this accident, you would be nothing. You'd be,
I'd still be in the same
Yeah,
lull that I was in
exactly.
my life. Yeah.
Exactly. So this is good. Keep on doing what you do. And
Thank you.
Peace out.
Peace out, man. Yeah, this is good. Yeah, thank you so much for allowing me to come in and speak to whoever's going to be listening on the other end of this, and just allowing me to share my story, because I really feel that God has a message to give everybody, through everybody, if we're willing to listen. And He's given me a message, and I believe it's pretty powerful. And for those that have the ears to hear and the open heart, to really investigate for yourself how powerful you can become when you just alter your mindset about your tragedies and look at your tragedies as they are actually teachers, and to allow it to teach you.
Well said.
Yeah, so there really is no accidents in life. There's just teachers. And so when we go through these adversities, we need adversity. Without adversity, you cannot really see how awesome the light is. If we just stay in darkness all our lives and never see the light, we can't really see who it is that we were meant to be. And we were all meant to come to the light, every single one of us.
So thank you.